Imagine a mansion so big you could get lost inside it. Marble floors that shined like mirrors. Chandeliers dripping crystals, sparkling like frozen rain. Rooms upon rooms that no one ever stepped into, because when you're rich enough to own a palace, sometimes it becomes less of a home and more of a museum. And inside this museum of wealth lived a boy. His name was Ethan Finch. He was the only son of a billionaire businessman who could buy almost anything in the world. But there was one thing money couldn't buy: the ability for Ethan to walk. Ethan had been born with a rare condition. Doctors had told his father that despite all the treatments, despite all the therapies, despite all the surgeries, walking might never be in the boy's future. And so, at 12 years old, Ethan sat in a sleek wheelchair worth more than most people's cars. His father had spared no expense, buying him the best technology, the latest models. But no matter how fancy the chair, it was still a chair, and Ethan hated it. Not just the chair, not just his legs. He hated the way people looked at him, pity in their eyes, whispers behind his back. He hated the silence of the mansion, the echo of footsteps that weren't his. His father was always away in boardrooms and meetings, chasing more billions, more deals. His mother had passed away years earlier, leaving Ethan with a loneliness so deep it sometimes felt like a hole in his chest. He had everything, and yet he had nothing. Children from wealthy families were sometimes invited over. They'd marvel at the indoor pool, the movie theater, the endless rooms filled with toys. But eventually they'd leave, because what good were toys if the boy who owned them couldn't run, couldn't climb, couldn't chase? "Sorry, Ethan," they'd say awkwardly when it was time to play tag or soccer in the garden. "Maybe next time." But there was never a next time. So Ethan played alone. His days blurred into hours of staring at screens, video games that gave him the illusion of running, of fighting, of flying. In those games, he wasn't disabled. He wasn't trapped. He was free. But when the screen went dark, so did his spirit. Mr. Finch, Ethan's father, was a man of power. His name could shake markets. His signature could build skyscrapers. But when it came to his son, he was powerless, and he hated that. He tried to fill the void with money, expensive tutors, the best doctors, experimental therapies overseas, machines that promised miracles. But Ethan's legs remained still. Sometimes Mr. Finch looked at his son with sadness, but most of the time he looked with frustration. He wanted Ethan to be strong, to overcome, to push harder. But Ethan was just a child, and all the pressure made him retreat further into himself. The boy wasn't just trapped by his legs. He was trapped by expectations, trapped by loneliness, trapped in a golden cage. One morning, while Ethan sat by the enormous window in his room, staring out at the driveway, he heard a sound he always recognized: the groan and squeal of the garbage truck. Every Tuesday, like clockwork, it arrived. And every Tuesday, Ethan watched from his window as men in orange vests jumped down, hauled bins, tossed bags, and disappeared. They were background characters in his life, like extras in a movie about wealth and loneliness. But today, something was different, because one of the men wasn't just hauling trash. He
was dancing. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his dark skin glistening with sweat under the morning sun. His vest was worn, his gloves torn, but his energy was electric. As he lifted bags, he spun them. As he dragged bins, he shuffled his feet. He hummed, he whistled, he moved with rhythm like the whole world was his stage. Ethan blinked. He'd never seen anything like that. The other workers laughed at him, shaking their heads. "Marcus, you fool! Quit showing off," one said. But Marcus didn't stop. He twirled, he moonwalked, he turned the curb into a dance floor. And when the truck pulled away, he hopped back on, still moving, still smiling. Ethan pressed his hand against the glass. His heart raced. For the first time in a long time, he felt something. The next Tuesday, Ethan was back at the window early, waiting. And sure enough, the truck rolled up, brakes squealing, and there was Marcus again, dancing his way down the street. But this time, Marcus looked up, and he saw Ethan. For a split second, their eyes locked. Marcus grinned, wide and genuine, and gave a little wave. Then, with a wink, he popped into a spin so exaggerated it made Ethan laugh out loud. It was the first time he had laughed like that in years. Week after week, Ethan waited for Marcus. He became the highlight of Ethan's life, the one moment that broke through the monotony. Every Tuesday, Marcus danced. Sometimes a silly shuffle, sometimes a smooth glide, sometimes an entire routine with spins and kicks. And every Tuesday, Ethan clapped silently behind the glass, wishing he could move like that. And Marcus knew. He started aiming his dances at Ethan's window, like a private performance just for him. He'd bow dramatically, point to the boy, then cartwheel away. For a boy who had everything money could buy, it was this simple, sweaty garbage man who gave him joy. One Tuesday, Mr. Finch walked into Ethan's room unexpectedly and found his son pressed against the window, eyes shining, clapping at the dancing garbage man outside. "What on earth are you doing?" Mr. Finch snapped. Ethan stammered, "Dad, look, he's dancing." Mr. Finch glanced outside, frowned, and shook his head. "That's garbage work. Don't waste your time watching clowns. You're better than that." He pulled the curtains shut. But Ethan couldn't stop thinking about Marcus, about the way he moved, about the way for a few minutes he forgot his legs didn't work. And deep down, a longing stirred. What if I could move like that? What if I could dance? That night, Ethan dreamed he was standing. Not just standing, dancing. His legs kicked, his feet spun, his body moved to music he couldn't hear but could feel. He woke up breathless, heart pounding, with one thought echoing in his mind: I have to meet him.
The next Tuesday came, and Ethan was ready before the garbage truck even turned the corner. His chair was parked right in front of the window, his face pressed against the glass, like a child waiting for Christmas morning. And when the rumble of the engine grew louder, his heart started pounding. There he was, Marcus, the man who moved like the world was his dance floor, the man who made taking out trash look like an art. Marcus hopped off the truck with the same wide smile, his boots hitting the pavement with rhythm. He lifted a trash bag, spun it over his head, and set it down with a little shuffle. His body swayed with music only he could hear. And then, like always, his eyes found Ethan's window. This time, instead of a simple wave, Marcus pointed both fingers at Ethan, grinned, and broke into a quick, playful routine. 2 steps forward, 1 back, a spin, and then a bow so deep it looked like he was on stage. Ethan clapped and laughed, his voice filling the empty room. For a boy who almost never laughed, it was like a miracle. But that day, something different happened. Marcus didn't hop back on the truck right away. He wiped his brow, looked up at the window again, and then called out, "Hey, little man, you got a name?" Ethan froze. Nobody ever talked to him like that. Not strangers, not adults, not anyone. He hesitated, then cracked the window open just a little. "Ethan," he said shyly. "Ethan, that's a strong name. You like the show?" Ethan grinned. "Yes, you're amazing." Marcus laughed, shaking his head. "Nah, I'm just moving my feet, trying to make the work less boring. But I'll tell you a secret, Ethan. Dancing is only fun if you try it yourself." Ethan's smile faltered. His eyes dropped to the wheelchair. I can't do that." Marcus tilted his head, his smile softening. "Who told you that?" Ethan swallowed hard. "Everyone." For a moment, Marcus said nothing. Then he stepped closer to the gate of the mansion, resting his hands on it. "And let me tell you something, Ethan. I grew up in a place where people said I'd never be nothing, said I'd end up in jail, or broke, or worse. But I found my rhythm. My rhythm kept me going when nothing else made sense, and when people told me I couldn't, I danced anyway." Ethan stared at him, wide-eyed. Nobody had ever spoken to him like that before. Not like a fragile child, not like a burden, but like someone who could choose to fight back. Before Ethan could reply, one of the other workers called out, "Marcus, let's go!" The truck was already starting to move. Marcus winked at Ethan and jogged back to the truck, still shuffling his feet like every step was part of the dance. Ethan didn't move from the window for a long time, replaying every word Marcus had said. "I danced anyway." The words echoed in his mind long after the truck was gone. That evening, Mr. Finch noticed his son smiling more than usual. He asked, "What's gotten into you?" as he scanned his phone for emails. Ethan hesitated. He wanted to tell him. He wanted to talk about Marcus, about how he felt alive for the first time in years. But he remembered the way his father had dismissed Marcus, calling him a clown, saying he was garbage. He didn't want to hear that again. So Ethan shook his head. "Nothing." His father nodded absently. "Good. Tomorrow we have another appointment with Dr. Larson. He says we should consider new braces for your legs. Very expensive, but worth it if it shows results." Ethan nodded, but inside he felt heavy. His father wanted him to walk through machines, wires, and expensive technology. Marcus made him believe he could move through rhythm, through joy, through life itself. The next Tuesday, Ethan was at the window again. This time, he didn't just watch. When Marcus looked up, he raised his hands and started mimicking the moves he saw. Just his arms, since his legs wouldn't follow, but still, he moved. Marcus broke into the widest grin yet. "Look at you!" Marcus shouted, spinning dramatically. "You got rhythm, little man!" Ethan laughed so hard he nearly tipped his chair. For the first time in his life, he wasn't just watching life happen from behind the glass. He was part of it. But not everyone was happy about it. That evening, Mr. Finch walked into Ethan's room and saw him swaying in front of the mirror, practicing his moves. His face hardened. "What are you doing?" Ethan froze. "I'm dancing."
Who put that idea in your head? Was it that garbage man again? Ethan bit his lip. His name is Marcus, and he's my friend. His voice rose. He's not your friend, Ethan. He's the garbage man. That's his job. He takes out trash. He doesn't belong in our lives. You should be focusing on therapy, not nonsense. Tears welled in his eyes. It's not nonsense. He makes me feel like I can do something, like I can be more than this chair. For the first time, his father had no reply. He just sighed, rubbed his forehead, and muttered, "We'll talk about this later." Then he walked out, leaving Ethan trembling, but also burning with defiance. Because for once in his life, Ethan knew he was right. And deep down, he also knew this was only the beginning.
The next week, Ethan woke up early. He didn't need an alarm anymore. His body seemed to know when Tuesday was coming. Tuesday meant Marcus. Tuesday meant dancing. Tuesday meant life felt different. He wheeled himself to the window, waiting. His stomach fluttered with nerves. What if Marcus didn't come today? What if the truck was late or he had the day off? The thought made Ethan's chest tighten. But then the familiar rumble of the garbage truck echoed down the street, and relief washed over him like sunlight. Marcus jumped down, as always, his boots hitting the pavement with rhythm. But today, he didn't start dancing right away. He looked up at Ethan's window and shouted, "Ethan, come outside!" Ethan froze. Come outside? Nobody had ever invited him out like that. His world had always been behind walls and glass. His father didn't even like him in the driveway, unless he was being loaded into a car for another doctor's appointment. But Marcus was already waving him on. "Come on, little man, the air's good out here." Ethan's hands trembled on the wheels of his chair. Slowly, he rolled back from the window, hesitated, then pushed himself toward the door. His heart pounded with each movement, like he was breaking a rule carved in stone. He rolled down the hall, past the marble staircase, past the silent portraits of ancestors glaring down at him, until he reached the front door. He hesitated again. What if my father found out? What if he got in trouble? But then he thought about Marcus's smile, the way his laughter made everything feel lighter. He took a deep breath, turned the handle, and rolled outside. The sunlight hit his face, warm and sharp. The driveway stretched wide in front of him, and at the end of it stood Marcus, grinning from ear to ear. "There you are," Marcus shouted. "Now we can really dance." Ethan laughed nervously. I told you, I can't." Marcus shook his head. "Didn't I tell you last week? Everybody's got to move. You already showed me yours. Now let's take it up a notch." Ethan wheeled closer, his chair bumping slightly on the uneven stones. For a moment, he worried Marcus would look at him with pity, the way everyone else did. But Marcus never did. His eyes were full of respect, like Ethan was already enough just as he was. "All right," Marcus said, clapping his hands. "Watch me first." He spread his feet, bent his knees, and started sliding side to side, smooth and effortless. "This here is the two-step, easiest thing in the world." Ethan watched, fascinated. Marcus's movements were simple, but the rhythm made them beautiful. "Now you try," Marcus said. Ethan frowned. I don't have legs, I know. So, who said dancing is only about legs? Look, you got arms, shoulders, even that chair moves. Make it part of you. Dance is whatever your body can give. That's your power. Ethan swallowed hard. Nobody had ever told him that before. Slowly, he raised his arms, moving them side to side, mimicking Marcus's rhythm. He swayed his shoulders, shifted his weight in the chair, letting the wheels roll just a little with each movement. Marcus let out a holler so loud it startled Ethan.
That's it! That's it! Look at you, little man!" Ethan laughed, really laughed, moving faster now, his arms slicing the air, his chair rolling in tiny circles. For the first time in his life, he felt like his body wasn't betraying him. It was part of the music. It was alive. The garbage truck crew stared from the street, shaking their heads but smiling. One of them muttered, "Man, Marcus is crazy." But another said softly, "Crazy or not, look at that kid. He's glowing." And he was. His cheeks were red, his chest rising and falling, but his eyes shone brighter than the sun. When the routine ended, Marcus bowed dramatically, and Ethan copied him with a bow of his own, almost tipping forward in his chair, and they both burst into laughter. "See," Marcus said, pointing at him. "Told you, you got rhythm in your bones, boy. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise." Ethan's laughter faded into a softer smile. "Marcus, do you think I'll ever—" Marcus paused, crouching down so he was eye level with Ethan. His tone grew serious. "Ethan, listen to me. Walking don't make you whole. Dancing don't mean 2 legs. It means heart. It means joy. It means freedom. And that, my little man, you already got." Ethan blinked back tears. "But my dad says—" Marcus shook his head. "Your dad's a powerful man, yeah? But he don't know everything. Sometimes the richest folks forget the best things in life don't cost a dime. Like music, like laughter, like this right here." He tapped Ethan's chest gently. "This spirit of yours, that's priceless." Ethan couldn't answer. His throat was tight, his heart pounding. Just then, the mansion door flew open. Mr. Finch's voice thundered across the driveway. "Ethan, what are you doing out here?" Ethan froze, his joy vanishing in an instant. His father stormed down the steps, his eyes narrowing at Marcus. "And you? Stay away from my son." Marcus straightened, his expression calm but firm. "Sir, with all due respect, your boy's got more life in him right now than I ever seen. Don't take that from him." Mr. Finch's face darkened. "You don't tell me how to raise my son. You pick up trash. That's your place. Stay in it." Ethan's chest tightened. He wanted to speak, wanted to defend Marcus, but fear sealed his lips. His father grabbed the back of his chair and wheeled him inside, the heavy door slamming shut behind them. That night, Ethan lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Tears burned in his eyes. His father's words replayed in his head. "You pick up trash. That's your place." But so did Marcus. Everybody's got to move. Find yours. And deep inside, Ethan knew which words mattered more. The next Tuesday, Ethan was back at the window, waiting, hoping. And when Marcus looked up and smiled, Ethan raised his arms high, moving them in rhythm, defying the mansion walls, defying his father, defying the chair, because Marcus had shown him something his father never could: freedom. And once you've tasted freedom, you can't go back.
The days in the Finch mansion began to feel different. For years, time had been something Ethan endured, a blur of silence and therapy sessions that promised miracles but never delivered. But now he had Tuesdays. Tuesdays weren't just days anymore. They were lifelines. Every Tuesday meant Marcus. Every Tuesday meant laughter. Every Tuesday meant life. And Ethan started changing. He practiced in secret, rolling his chair in front of the mirror, swaying his body, moving his arms. At first, he only mimicked Marcus's steps, but soon he started creating his own moves. Little spins of the chair, sharp snaps of his fingers, waves rolling from shoulder to shoulder. He recorded himself once, cringing at how awkward he looked. But then he smiled, because awkward or not, he was moving.
He was dancing. When Tuesday came again, he couldn't wait. The truck rolled in, Marcus jumped off, and Ethan was already outside this time, waiting in the driveway. His father was away on business, thank God, so he didn't have to hide. Marcus grinned when he saw him. "Well, look at you, little man, ready before I even get my boots dirty." Ethan laughed nervously. "I've been practicing." "Oh yeah? Show me." Ethan took a deep breath and rolled his chair forward, spinning it in a circle, then snapping his fingers in rhythm, finishing with his arms crossing and uncrossing in a little wave. It was clumsy, but it was his. Marcus whooped so loud the other workers jumped. "Yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's your move, Ethan. That's your signature." Ethan blushed but couldn't stop smiling. For the first time in his life, someone wasn't just praising him for surviving or pitying him for what he couldn't do. Someone was celebrating what he could do. From that day on, Marcus didn't just dance for Ethan, he danced with him. Every Tuesday, they created a little show in the driveway. Marcus would teach him moves, Ethan would invent his own, and together they'd laugh until their sides ached. The workers rolled their eyes at first, but even they couldn't deny it. There was something special about the boy and the garbage man, something that made the whole street brighter. But not everyone was smiling. One afternoon, Mr. Finch came home early. He stepped out of his sleek black car, briefcase in hand, and froze. There, in the driveway of his mansion, was his son, spinning his wheelchair in rhythm, arms raised, laughter spilling into the air. And right beside him was Marcus, stomping his boots to the beat, clapping, moving like the asphalt itself was a dance floor. Mr. Finch's face hardened like stone. "Ethan!" His voice cracked like thunder. The music in Ethan's heart stopped instantly. He froze, panic rushing through him. Marcus straightened, his smile fading, but his eyes steady. Mr. Finch stormed closer. "What is this nonsense? What are you doing humiliating yourself like this? Dancing in the driveway with him?" He shot Marcus a look filled with disdain, the kind reserved for people he believed were beneath him. Ethan's voice shook. "Dad, No!" Mr. Finch cut him off. "You are not to see this man again. Do you hear me? You have therapy, you have doctors, you have real chances at progress. This circus act is beneath you." Marcus didn't flinch. He stepped forward calmly. "Sir, with all due respect, your boy's alive out here. Look at him. Look at that smile. When's the last time you saw him laugh like that?" Mr. Finch's face reddened. "You don't know anything about my son, about what he needs. I know joy when I see it. And I know when someone's finally believing in themselves." Ethan's heart pounded. His father and Marcus stood like two worlds colliding, wealth and poverty, power and humility, fear and freedom. Mr. Finch grabbed the back of Ethan's chair. "Inside, now!" Ethan's throat burned. Tears filled his eyes. "Dad, please!" "I said now!" Marcus raised a hand gently. "Ethan, it's all right. Go on. But remember, nobody can lock away your rhythm, not even him." Mr. Finch wheeled Ethan inside, slamming the door so hard it rattled the walls. Ethan sobbed, the sound muffled by the mansion's silence. His father knelt down, his voice sharp but trembling. "Ethan, listen to me. That man is trash. Do you understand? He picks up garbage. He's not your friend. You're a Finch. You're meant for more." Ethan choked on his tears. More than happiness? The question stunned his father. For a moment, Mr. Finch faltered, but pride hardened his face again. "You'll thank me one day." That night, Ethan stared out the window, the empty driveway, the streetlights flickering. His chest ached. For the first time since meeting Marcus, he felt trapped again, caged, like his father's words were chains on his spirit. But then, faintly, he heard music. Not from a speaker, not from the TV, from outside. He rolled to the window, pressed his face to the glass, and gasped. Marcus was there. Across the street, under a street lamp, dancing. Not big, not loud, but slow, steady, deliberate. His eyes lifted to Ethan's window, and he pointed. Then he placed his hand over his heart and nodded, as if to say, "I'm still here. This rhythm is still yours." Ethan's tears fell, but this time they weren't just from sadness. They were from determination. His father could close the door, he could forbid, he could command, he could even shame, but he couldn't kill the fire Marcus had lit in Ethan's chest. And Ethan knew one thing for certain. No matter what, he was going to dance again.
The days after his father's outburst were heavy, like the mansion itself had grown darker. Mr. Finch doubled down on Ethan's therapy, hiring new specialists, buying new equipment, throwing more money at the problem. The doctors came with clipboards, with charts, with machines that beeped and hummed. They stretched Ethan's legs, braced them in metal, shocked them with tiny currents. They told him to push, to try harder, to believe. But Ethan didn't believe in them. Not anymore. The only thing that made his heart lift was Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, Marcus returned. He didn't come to the driveway anymore, not after Mr. Finch's warning, but he came close enough. Sometimes he danced under the street lamp at night, slow and deliberate, pointing up at Ethan's window, as if reminding him, "This rhythm is yours too." Sometimes, when the garbage truck stopped, he'd drop into a quick routine right there on the street. No words needed, just movement. And Ethan answered. He moved in his chair, arms swinging, shoulders rolling, smiling so wide his cheeks hurt. He practiced late into the night when his father slept, spinning the chair in circles, snapping his fingers, waving his arms. His body grew sore, but he loved the ache. It felt alive. It felt like proof. One Tuesday morning, Marcus surprised him. As the truck stopped, he cupped his hands around his mouth and called up to the window. "Hey, Ethan, you trust me?" Ethan blinked, confused. "Yes," he shouted back. Marcus grinned. "Then come outside. Tonight. Meet me by the lamp." Ethan's stomach dropped. Go outside at night without his father knowing? The idea filled him with fear, but also with excitement. His father had locked doors, but Marcus was offering him an open one. That night, after Mr. Finch had gone to bed, Ethan rolled to the door. His hands shook on the wheels. Every creak of the mansion echoed like thunder, and he half expected his father to appear, furious. But the house stayed silent. He pushed open the door and rolled into the cool night air. Marcus was waiting under the street lamp, his silhouette broad and steady. When he saw Ethan, he clapped his hands together and laughed. "There's my guy! You made it!" Ethan rolled closer, his heart racing. "What if my dad finds out?" Marcus knelt down, looking him in the eye. "Sometimes, Ethan, you gotta choose your own steps, even if it scares you, especially if it scares you." Ethan nodded slowly, his chest tight with nerves. Marcus stood, cracking his knuckles.
All right, little man, you've been moving those arms like a pro, but now we're going to try something different. We're going to see what those legs can give us." Ethan's face fell. "My legs don't—" "Stop," Marcus said firmly, but not unkindly. "Don't tell me what they can't do. Show me what they can." Ethan swallowed hard. He'd spent his whole life being told what he couldn't do, but something about Marcus's voice made him want to try. Marcus held out his hands. "You trust me?" Ethan hesitated, then placed his small hands in Marcus's large, calloused hands. Marcus gently lifted him from the chair. His body sagged, his legs trembling weakly, but Marcus steadied him, holding him upright. "Don't think about standing. Think about moving. Just a little. Feel the rhythm." Ethan's heart thundered in his chest. His legs shook, unsteady, ready to give out. But Marcus's grip was strong, unyielding. "Now," said Marcus softly, "let the music be in your head. Hear it?" Ethan closed his eyes, and in the silence of the night, he did. A rhythm, a beat, something that wasn't really there, but lived in his mind. His body swayed, just slightly, leaning on Marcus. His feet shifted, barely, but they moved. Marcus's voice rose with joy. "Yes, that's it! You're moving, Ethan!" Tears filled his eyes. He hadn't felt this sensation in years, his feet touching ground, his body upright, his weight shifting, even if just a little. It was clumsy, it was shaky, but it was real. Marcus steadied him again, smiling wide. "Every dance starts small, little man. Tonight, you danced." Ethan collapsed back into the chair, laughing and crying all at once. His chest heaved, his face glowed. "I did it! I really did it!" "You did," Marcus said firmly, "and you'll do it again and again. And one day, those legs are going to remember they belong to you." From that night on, Ethan and Marcus met in secret. Night after night, under the street lamp, Marcus guided him, first with tiny shifts of weight, then with steps where Marcus carried most of him, then with Ethan pushing more and more. Each time his confidence grew. His muscles burned, his body ached, but the fire in his chest burned brighter. He was changing. At home, he still sat in his chair. He still went to the therapies his father forced on him. But inside, he carried a secret. He wasn't just a boy trapped in a chair anymore. He was a boy learning to dance. And one night, when he managed 3 shaky steps in Marcus's arms, Ethan looked up at him, tears on his cheeks. "Marcus, do you think I'll ever walk?" Marcus squeezed his shoulders. "Ethan, I don't know about doctors, I don't know about miracles, but I know this: your spirit's already walking, and when the spirit leads, the body follows." Ethan believed him, more than he'd ever believed anyone. What Ethan didn't know was that his father would soon discover their secret, and when he did, the storm that followed would test everything Ethan and Marcus had built.
The secret meetings under the street lamp couldn't last forever. One night, as Marcus steadied Ethan through another shaky step, the front door of the mansion burst open. Mr. Finch's voice cut through the night like a blade. "Ethan, what in God's name are you doing?" Ethan froze, his legs wobbling, his body collapsing back into the chair. His heart pounded, his chest heaved. Marcus stepped forward, steady, protective, but calm. "Mr. Finch, your boy's got more strength in him than anyone ever gave him credit for." But Mr. Finch's face was fire. He marched across the driveway, his voice rising with every step. "I told you to stay away from him. I told you. Do you think I don't pay enough for doctors, for specialists, for the best therapies in the world? And here you are, garbage man, filling his head with lies and false hope."
Ethan's throat closed. His hand shook. He wanted to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Marcus didn't flinch. "It ain't false hope, sir. It's joy. It's life. When I met Ethan, he was locked up in that house, dead behind the eyes. Now look at him. He's moving. He's smiling. He's alive. That's not a lie." Mr. Finch's hands tightened on the chair handles. "Get away from him!" But then something cracked in Ethan. All the silence, all the times he'd swallowed his words, all the fear, it burst out at once. "Dad, stop!" Mr. Finch froze, stunned. Ethan never shouted at him. Never. Ethan's voice shook, but it grew stronger with every word. "You don't see me. You see my legs. You see my chair. You see what I can't do. But Marcus sees me. He sees who I am. He makes me believe I can do more than just sit here waiting for your doctors to fix me. He makes me feel alive." Tears streamed down Ethan's face, his voice raw. "You keep saying you're doing this for me, but you're not. You're doing it for you, because you can't stand having a son who doesn't fit your perfect world. But Dad, I don't need to fit. I need to live." The words hung heavy in the night. Mr. Finch's face shifted, his anger faltering, his eyes blinking like he'd just been struck. Ethan pushed the wheels of his chair forward, his voice breaking. "I don't want more machines, more doctors, more experiments. I want to dance." The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus stood tall, steady as stone, his eyes locked on Mr. Finch. Ethan sat trembling in his chair, his chest rising and falling. And for the first time in years, Mr. Finch saw his son. Not the chair, not the legs, not the diagnosis. His son. A boy with fire in his eyes, demanding to be seen. Mr. Finch's shoulders slumped, his voice cracked. "Ethan, I just wanted to fix it. To fix you." Ethan's voice softened. "I don't need fixing, Dad. I need you to believe in me." The words shattered the last of the billionaire's pride. He turned away, covering his face with his hands. For a long moment no one spoke. Then Marcus's voice, deep and steady, broke the silence. "Sir, your boy's got more strength in him than most man I've ever known. But strength don't grow in a cage. Let him dance. Let him live. And maybe one day those legs of his will remember what they're meant to do." Mr. Finch looked at Marcus, at the man he'd dismissed as trash, and for the first time he didn't see a garbage man. He saw the man who had given his son nothing no doctor, no machine, no pile of money ever could: hope. The next night, under the same street lamp, Mr. Finch stood at the mansion door, watching his son laugh as Marcus guided him through shaky steps, watching the fire in his boy's eyes, watching the miracle that wasn't about medicine or wealth, but about rhythm, courage, and love. Weeks passed. Each night Ethan grew stronger. The steps came easier, the sways more natural, until one night, under Marcus's steady hands, Ethan took 3 steps, not carried, not forced, 3 real, trembling, glorious steps. Mr. Finch's eyes filled with tears he couldn't stop. His hands shook as he whispered, "He's walking." Ethan collapsed back into the chair, laughing and crying, his arms raised high. "Dad, did you see? I walked!" Mr. Finch rushed forward, falling to his knees, pulling his son into his arms. His tears wet Ethan's hair. I saw, my boy, and I am so proud." Marcus stood back, smiling wide, his own eyes shining. "Told you, little man. Told you those legs would listen to your spirit one day." From that night forward, the mansion wasn't silent anymore. Music filled its halls, beats, laughter, the sound of wheels spinning in rhythm. Ethan kept training, dancing in his chair, dancing on his shaky legs, dancing with Marcus, dancing with his father, who finally joined in. And though Ethan's journey was far from over, one thing was certain. He was no longer trapped. He was free. Because sometimes miracles don't come from money or medicine. Sometimes they come from rhythm, from joy, from the man the world calls trash, but who carries gold in his heart. Ethan would never forget the day the garbage man taught him to dance, and neither would his father.